Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. And today we're looking at the future of jobs. We've got this awesome report, the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2023. And this thing's like packed with information.
Yeah.
It's based on this huge survey, 803 companies,
Oh,
representing over 11.3 million workers around the world. It's like a global snapshot of what the next 5 years of work could look like.
definitely.
And here's a really interesting thing. The report says that the job market's going to see about a 23% churn rate.
Oh, wow.
That means almost a quarter of all jobs are going to be like totally disrupted,
Yeah.
emerging, disappearing, changing.
Yeah.
So get ready because we're diving deep into what all this means for you.
Yeah, it's fascinating. The job market's always kind of changing, but this report really shows just how fast things are moving. And yeah, you mentioned, global snapshot. And it's pretty interesting, how different things are between developed and developing economies. For example, a lot of developed countries are actually seeing lower unemployment rates now than they did before the pandemic.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I would have thought it would be the opposite.
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? I think the global economy bounced back a lot stronger than people expected in some places, especially in the US and Europe. The OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they're reporting that 3/4 of their member countries have unemployment rates lower than they were before the pandemic. And overall, the OECD unemployment rate is like the lowest it's been in over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's not the same everywhere. So while some countries are dealing with labor shortages, others, especially in Africa and Latin America, are seeing um, pretty high unemployment.
So it's almost like two different economies happening at the same time. What does that actually mean for like someone in Brazil compared to someone in Germany?
That's a great question. I mean, let's say you're in a developed country with labor shortages. You're probably in a really good spot to negotiate, higher salaries or better benefits. Companies need workers and they're willing to compete to get them. But on the other hand, if you're in a developing economy where there's high unemployment, it's going to be a lot tougher to find a job.
So it becomes even more important to stand out, right?
Yeah.
To have the skills everyone's looking for. Okay, so we've got this kind of uneven recovery going on. What other global trends are affecting the future of work? And how's it going to impact everyone listening?
Well, the report talks about a few key trends. One of the biggest is the green transition. And we're not just talking about climate change, but a major shift in the global economy. And it's going to create tons of new jobs. Think about it. Massive investment in renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure, green technologies.
And the report actually puts a number on that. It says 86% of the companies surveyed believe that investing in the green transition is going to be a huge driver of change for their organizations.
Exactly. And it's happening all over the world. Like China's carbon neutrality pledge, they're committing to net zero carbon emissions by 2060. It's a massive goal. It's going to require huge investments in green technologies. And then there's the European Green Deal. They want to make Europe the first climate neutral continent by 2050. And even here in the U.S., the Inflation Reduction Act is putting billions of dollars towards clean energy and climate stuff.
Oh, so it's not just about, saving the planet. It's about creating this whole new job market. Green skills are going to be super valuable. What other trends should people be paying attention to?
Well, this probably won't surprise you, but technology is changing so fast. Again, 86% of companies in the survey said they expect to use technologies like AI, cloud computing, and big data in the next 5 years. Think about it. How much has changed, even in the last few years? The way we work, the way we talk to each other, even the way we shop. Technology is changing every industry, and it's not going to slow down.
And there's some really specific stuff in the report about this. They're saying 86% of businesses are going to be adopting digital platforms and apps. And 75% are expected to adopt e-commerce and digital trade.
Yeah.
That's a huge change.
It is, and the message is clear. Tech skills are essential for just about any career you can think of.
Okay, so we've got green jobs on the rise, tech jobs exploding. But what about, the economy as a whole? We talked about the cost of living going up. How will that impact jobs in the long run?
That's a really important point. Slower economic growth and rising costs are putting pressure on certain industries, especially agriculture and manufacturing. People losing jobs in those areas is a real concern.
Yeah, the report actually says that those economic challenges are the biggest threat to the job market over the next 5 years.
It's a big deal. But it's not all bad news. It's also pushing companies to be more innovative, to, find new ways to grow, and that could lead to new opportunities.
I like that. turning challenges into opportunities.
Exactly. The companies that adapt, the ones that can use technology and come up with creative solutions, those are the ones that are going to thrive.
I like that perspective.
Okay.
Okay, let's get specific. What jobs are actually, like, growing right now? And which ones are going away? What should our listeners be thinking about?
Okay, so let's get into it. According to the report, the top 3 fastest growing jobs globally are AI and machine learning specialists, sustainability specialists, and business intelligence analysts.
Interesting. 2 tech-related roles and 1 sustainability role in the top 3 really reflects those trends we were just talking about. For those of you watching on YouTube, we'll put up a graphic showing those jobs and the jobs that are declining too.
Yeah. And on the other side, the jobs that are seeing the biggest decline are data entry clerks, administrative and executive secretaries, and accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks.
So anyone in those fields, it might be time to start thinking about a career change.
I think that's a good idea. Now's the time to invest in yourself, learn new skills, think about how you can use your experience in a career with more potential.
Okay, so we've got a sense of the job market. Now let's talk about skills. Everyone always says learn to code.
Yeah.
Is that really all you need to do to survive in the future?
Coding is definitely valuable, but it's not everything. This report actually puts a lot of emphasis on human skills, the things that, robots and AI can't do. Those are the things that make you stand out in a world that's becoming more and more automated.
That's a really good point. So what are those uniquely human skills?
Well, according to the report, the top 3 that are growing the fastest are creative thinking, analytical thinking, and technology literacy.
So AI can analyze data, but can it come up with ideas? Can it, actually imagine? That's where we humans come in.
Exactly. And even if you're not a programmer, you got to understand how technology is changing your industry, your job, even your life. That's what technology literacy is all about.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So everyone listening, what skills are you working on? What new skills do you think you'll need? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's so important to be proactive. You can't just wait for your company or the government to tell you what to learn. The world's changing fast, and you have to stay ahead of the curve.
It's funny you should say that about being proactive,
Right.
because we were just talking about how important it is to be, learning new skills and staying ahead of the curve. But honestly, sometimes it feels a little overwhelming. Like, where do you even start? There's so many online courses and boot camps and workshops.
Yeah.
How do you know which ones are worth your time and money?
Yeah, I get that. Things have changed so much. It can be tough to figure out, like, what's the best way to learn new stuff? But that's kind of the cool part too, right? There are more ways to learn than ever before. You can find exactly what you need when you need it. And the report talks about this. It says that we're moving away from traditional education, like going to college for 4 years, and moving towards, more flexible ways of learning.
So it's less about getting another degree
Yeah.
and more about picking up specific skills that you need for your career.
Exactly. And companies are starting to realize this too. They're seeing that it's better to invest in their current employees to help them learn new skills rather than just trying to hire new people all the time. In fact, the report found that on-the-job training and coaching are expected to be a big part of how companies train their employees.
Right.
Like 27% of all training. That's more than internal training departments or employer-sponsored apprenticeships.
Wow. So companies are stepping up. That's good to hear. But it doesn't mean that individuals can just, sit back and relax.
Right.
We still have to be proactive about our own development.
Absolutely. You can't just wait for your company to offer you training. You got to take charge. Look for online resources, join industry groups, attend webinars, connect with other people in your field. There's so much you can do on your own to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like the future of work is basically forcing us to become lifelong learners.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. It's about being curious and being able to adapt. Be open to learning new things and don't be afraid of change.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's go back to those top 3 skills we were talking about before. Creative thinking, analytical thinking, and technology literacy. Why are those so important in a world that's, becoming more and more automated?
Well, it's all about finding that balance between what humans are good at and what technology is good at. Take creative thinking, for example. AI is amazing at analyzing data and finding patterns, but it's not so good at coming up with new ideas or thinking outside the box or finding creative solutions to problems. Those are still things that humans are better at.
So in a way, technology is actually making creativity even more important.
Exactly. And the same goes for analytical thinking. We have so much data these days. You need to be able to sort through all that data and figure out what it means. That's what makes you valuable in a world that's driven by data. It's not just about crunching numbers. It's about understanding what those numbers mean, how they fit into the bigger picture, and what you should do based on that information.
So it's not just about finding the right answers, it's about asking the right questions.
Exactly. And technology literacy is important because no matter what you do, whether you're a doctor, a teacher, or a chef, technology is changing your industry. You need to understand the tools and platforms that are changing your work. And you need to be able to adapt as those technologies change.
Like a chef who might not need to know how to code,
Hmm.
but they probably need to understand how things like online ordering systems and delivery apps are affecting their restaurant.
Exactly. And that same chef might even want to look into things like smart kitchen appliances or AI-powered recipe generators to see if they can help make their work more efficient.
So it's about being curious and seeing how technology can improve your work, not replace it.
Exactly. It's about combining human ingenuity with technology. And speaking of technology, there's one area that the report highlights as being super important for the future of work. And it might surprise you. AI and big data.
I noticed that too. It's not just about being able to use those technologies. It's about understanding how they work, what their limitations are,
Yeah.
and what impact they might have on society.
You got it. The report found that AI and big data are only the 15th most important skill right now, but they're the number 3 priority for company training strategies over the next 5 years.
Wow, that's a big jump. So what specific skills in AI and big data are employers looking for?
It's a whole range of things, from basic data literacy to more advanced stuff like machine learning, natural language processing, and data visualization.
So even if you don't work in tech, understanding AI and big data could be really helpful.
Absolutely. Those technologies are being used in more and more industries. So whether you're in healthcare, finance, or education, there are probably ways to use AI and big data to do your job better.
Like a doctor who can use AI to analyze medical images and diagnose diseases earlier, or a teacher who can use AI to personalize learning for their students.
Exactly.
It sounds like AI and big data are going to be as important as knowing how to use a computer or the internet.
I think so.
Okay, we've talked about tech skills, creative skills, analytical skills. What about soft skills, those interpersonal skills that are important in any job?
Those are more important than ever. The report found that while technical skills are obviously crucial, employers are also looking for what they call self-efficacy skills. Things like resilience, flexibility, agility, motivation, self-awareness, curiosity, and a commitment to lifelong learning.
So being able to adapt to change, solve problems, and constantly learn new things.
Exactly. And it's also about working well with others, communicating clearly, building relationships, and understanding different perspectives. Those skills are always in demand. But they're becoming even more important as technology takes over routine tasks.
That's what makes us human, right? Our ability to connect, collaborate, and be creative in ways that machines can't.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So if you're thinking about what skills to focus on, don't forget those soft skills. They might be the most valuable skills you have in the future of work. Now, while a lot of skills are becoming more important, the report also mentions that some are becoming less important.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. Which ones are those? And why are they becoming less essential?
It's important to note that no skills were actually declining overall, but some are growing in importance more slowly than others. Those include things like reading, writing, and math, global citizenship, sensory processing abilities, and manual dexterity, endurance, and precision.
So those are skills that are either being automated or becoming less necessary in a digital world, like manual dexterity. As robots get more sophisticated, we need fewer humans to do those really precise, repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
What happens to those factory workers, those assembly line workers? Are their jobs just gone?
Not necessarily. They just need to adapt. They might need to learn how to operate or maintain the robots, or they might need to move into roles that require more critical thinking, problem solving, or interpersonal skills. It's not about the end of those jobs. It's about how those jobs are changing.
So it all comes back to learning new skills and adapting to the changing job market. It seems like a lot to think about. But it's also an exciting time to be entering the workforce, right? There are so many possibilities.
I think so. There are definitely challenges. But there are also amazing opportunities to be innovative, to be creative, and to make a real difference in the world. The key is to be open to change, to keep learning, and to never stop exploring new possibilities.
I love that. Okay, we've covered a lot. Global trends, emerging skills, the importance of lifelong learning. But what about the companies themselves? What are they doing to deal with all these changes and create a better future of work?
That's a great question. And the report talks about that too. Companies are using a lot of different strategies to address these challenges. One that's becoming more and more popular is offering flexible work arrangements. The report found that 48% of companies plan to offer more remote and hybrid work opportunities.
That makes sense. After the pandemic, employees want more flexibility, and companies are realizing that it's a good way to attract and keep good employees.
Exactly. It's about creating a work environment that works for everyone. And it's not just about where people work, but when they work too. We're seeing companies try things like compressed work weeks, flex time, and results-only work environments.
So instead of focusing on whether someone is at their desk from 9 to 5, it's about trusting them to manage their own time and get their work done.
That's the idea. It's about focusing on productivity and results, not just showing up. And another important strategy is focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The report found that 35% of companies plan to invest in initiatives to find more diverse talent.
That's good to hear. We're seeing more and more companies talking about this.
It's not just about doing the right thing, it's also good for business. Diverse teams are more innovative, creative, and adaptable. And they're better at understanding and serving a diverse customer base.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly. Now, while companies are making changes internally, they're also looking to governments to help with some of the bigger challenges of the future of work.
What are some of the things that companies are asking governments to do?
One of the big ones is tax breaks or other incentives for companies to raise wages. With the cost of living going up, a lot of companies are realizing that they need to pay their employees a living wage if they want to keep them.
So it's about creating an economic system that's fairer for everyone.
That's the goal. And another key area is education and training. Companies are asking governments to improve schools so that students are better prepared for the jobs of the future.
So it's about making sure that what students learn in school is actually useful in the real world.
Exactly. And there's also a push for changes to immigration laws to make it easier for companies to hire skilled workers from other countries, especially in areas where there aren't enough qualified workers.
So it's really a team effort. Governments, businesses, and individuals all working together to figure out this whole future of work thing.
That's right. It's complicated, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
I'm feeling optimistic.
Me too.
So to wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some of the key things that our listeners should be thinking about as they navigate this changing world of work?
I think the most important thing is to be proactive. Don't wait for someone to tell you what to do. Take control of your own career. Explore your options, experiment, and be willing to adapt. The job market is always changing, so be flexible and look at change as an opportunity to grow.
And we're back, diving deeper into the future of work with the World Economic Forum's report. Before the break, we were talking about how companies are realizing that investing in their employees' development is key, especially with all these changes happening in the work world.
It's a real change in how they're thinking. For a while, companies were all about finding new people to fill those gaps and skills.
Right.
But things are changing so fast, especially with technology, and everyone needs such specific skills, it just makes more sense for companies to help the current employees learn new things.
It's definitely more efficient.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the ways companies are actually doing this, bridging the skills gap. And what are they doing to attract and keep the best talent? What's the report say about that?
One big thing is offering more flexibility in how people work. The report found that 48% of companies plan to offer more remote and hybrid work options.
That seems like it's becoming the norm these days, especially after everyone had to work from home during the pandemic. Employees want more flexibility, and companies are realizing it's a good way to keep people happy.
Exactly. It's all about creating a work environment that fits with how people want to live their lives. And it's not just about working from home or at the office, it's also about when people work. We're seeing companies try things like shorter work weeks, flexible hours, and focusing on results instead of hours worked.
So it's about trusting people to get the work done and not worrying about whether they're sitting at their desk from 9 to 5.
That's the idea. It's about being productive and achieving goals, not just showing up. Another important thing is focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The report says 35% of companies plan to invest in finding and hiring people from diverse backgrounds.
That's great to hear. A lot of companies are talking about this, and it's good to see them actually taking action.
It's not just about doing the right thing, although that's important. It's also good for business. Diverse teams come up with more creative ideas, they're more adaptable, and they're better at understanding a wider range of customers.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly. Now, companies are making changes themselves, but they're also asking governments to help with some of the bigger issues facing the future of work.
Oh, interesting. What are some of the things companies are asking for?
Well, one of the main things is asking for tax breaks or other incentives to help them pay their employees better. With the cost of living going up, a lot of companies realize they need to pay a living wage if they want to attract and keep good employees.
It's about making sure everyone has a chance to succeed.
That's the goal. Another big thing is education and training. Companies are asking governments to improve schools so that students are learning the skills they need for jobs in the future.
So making sure there's a connection between what's being taught in school and what employers are actually looking for.
Exactly. And they're also asking for changes to immigration laws to make it easier to hire skilled workers from other countries, especially in areas where there's a shortage of qualified people.
So it's really a combined effort, governments, businesses, and individuals all working together to figure out this whole future of work thing.
That's exactly it. It's a complex issue, but I think we're making progress.
I'm feeling hopeful.
We too.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the future of jobs, what are some of the key takeaways for our listeners? What advice would you give them as they navigate this changing world of work?
The most important thing is to be proactive. Don't wait for someone to tell you what skills to learn or what career path to take. Take charge of your own career. Explore your options, experiment, and be willing to adapt. The job market is always changing, so be flexible and see change as a chance to grow.
Be a lifelong learner. Always curious, always growing, always evolving.
Perfectly put. And remember, technology isn't something to be afraid of. It's a powerful tool that can help you do your job better and open up new opportunities. Embrace technology and learn how to use it to your advantage.
Be open to new technologies, try out different tools and platforms, and don't be afraid to experiment.
And never forget the importance of those human skills. Creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration, and empathy. Those are the skills that make you stand out in a world where more and more jobs are being done by machines.
It's about what makes us human, our ability to connect, create, and innovate.
Well said. Those are the skills that will always be valuable no matter how much the world changes.
That's a great point to end on. So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the future of jobs. We hope you found it informative and inspiring. Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create. So go out there, embrace the challenge, and build the career of your dreams.
And remember, we're all in this together. We can create a better future of work for everyone if we work together.
That's a great message to leave our listeners with. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.